Greetings, everyone. It is Linda Talaferro, and of course, you know it is my favorite time of the week, Transformational Tuesdays. I'm going to talk to you about executive presence. We started it last week where I shared some details around two components of executive presence, which were communication and appearance. But what I want to do tonight is kind of even take a step back from that. Breaking it down into components are nice, and you need to understand those. There's no doubt about it. And next Tuesday, we're going to get into the third one, which is gravitas. But tonight, I wanted to share with you what really is executive presence. How do you get it? And then for some of you that have contacted me, they're like, why does it even matter? So I'm going to talk about that on this Transformational Tuesday as well. So, what is executive presence? I thought about that, and you guys, look, my audience, intelligent, highly clearly, you guys can Google that for yourself. I want to talk about what it's not. I really want to come from that perspective on what is executive presence because I know you, like me, throughout this career journey, you've seen some of what I'm going to share with you of what it's not. First of all, it's not bullying. So it's not using your power and play it on top of others, putting others in their places, minimizing other people, being dismissive, being disrespectful. Those unfortunate people that have titles on their business cards, they're not exhibiting executive presence in that matter. It's not lacking respect for time and being chronically late for meetings. I will tell you that early on in my career, I understood the value of being on time, the message that you send to others when you are on time. The basic message you send is that you respect them as individuals and you respect their time. So you arrive on time for meetings. Now, I mean, clearly things happen. Clearly things happen, and we are challenged if we have conflicts or, in my world, back-to-back meetings, and you may be a couple minutes late. But I will tell you, for me, that I try for that to be a rare occasion rather than a regular one. So disrespecting people's time and constantly being late, lacking self-awareness. That is what executive presence is not. Lacking self-awareness, not knowing who you are, how you're being perceived by others, not recognizing your opportunities for improvement. I like to call it that. Some people say weaknesses. That is not exhibiting executive presence. And then not having social awareness. That's also not exhibiting executive presence. You have to know how you impact the room when you walk in it, how you impact others. You got to be able to read that in others and shift so that you don't negatively impact them. So, what executive presence is not is also lacking social awareness. And then what executive presence is not is zero relationship management. And I know you guys are probably thinking, here she goes again on relationships, but you should be picking up the common thread among everything that I've been talking about with regard to one of the key areas that you can get unstuck and shift the trajectory of your career is relationships. As I'm sharing you what executive presence is not, that's one of them. Zero relationship management. That is not exhibiting executive presence. So, in all those areas I just mentioned to you about what executive presence is not, obviously it is the flip of that. Exactly. And you can see that there's a lot of correlation to having emotional intelligence. That is the root, that is your foundation as you're becoming a leader and you're positioning yourselves to be a leader. Part of that foundation, of course, we talked about is confidence, but also emotional intelligence. Because if you don't have that, you cannot build or create within yourself executive presence. Because I will tell you, it is something that you can create, you can build it. You may not have it now, you may have pieces of it, but it is something that you can acquire. It is not that mystical thing out there that only a few are born with. Absolutely not. You can acquire this. So, real quickly before I move on, I want to talk about what executive presence is. I chose to talk about what it's not. Again, it's not bullying. It's not having a lack of respect for people's time and chronically showing up late. It's not lacking self awareness. It's not lacking social awareness. And it's not having zero relationship management. It's not any of those. So you couple everything I just listed there with what we talked about last week around communication and appearance. You put all of that together and you've got executive presence. So if you think about it, yes, you can build that for yourself. You can establish that it factor that people reference on a regular basis. I've even noticed that now during the interview process, a few people have sent to me the feedback they've gotten in an interview process. And some of the feedback was a lax executive presence, even in an interview. Now companies are looking for that it factor. You may not have it in, at 100%, but they can tell if it's somewhere in there and it just needs groomed and it needs to be released. That's even being looked for within interviews. I've seen job descriptions recently written that says possessing executive presence. So this is becoming no longer that mystical thing that only a few possess, but it's actually becoming something that is a requirement, clearly. And those are the companies actually that you want to be part of. If they recognize the need for executive presence, that's the company you want to be in, because that means they know, they have an idea, they know, and they value growth and career development. So I found that interesting, thought I wanted to share that. So now we know what it is. So let's talk about why it matters. I'm going to get to how you get there for sure, but I wanted to add this. Why does it matter? Why do you need executive presence? So, one of the questions you might ask yourself, well, do you have leadership potential? Of course, Linda. You would say yes, of course. Do you have leadership material? Well, I think I do. Are you perceived as a leader? Now that might be where you might hesitate before you answer that question because you're not quite sure. Are you perceived as a leader? Sylvia Ann Hewlett, very well known in this space of executive presence, says that here's your why. You often hear me talk about, if you've been following me for a while, you got to have a why. Here's your why on executive presence. And she hit it clearly on the head of the nail. It's the missing link between merit and success. Executive presence, as Sylvia Ann Hewlett put it, it's the missing link between merit and success. So you can be the bee's knees, you can be the bomb at your subject matter. You can have the depth of education. You can have the depth of training. You could have gone to numerous certification classes and have years, that shows on your resume. And you can even have high quality work product. But if you don't have executive presence, you will not get that seat at the table that you have your eye on. This could be your missing link. If you've got your emotional intelligence down and you've done all the other work that you know that I've shared with you in the past, you've peeled back, you understand who you are, you've dealt with why you have insecurities, low self esteem, you've built that confidence, you've done all that other work, and you can't figure out why you're not getting the seat at the table. I mean, you might even say, Linda, I've got relationships, strategic ones. I've worked on that for years. I'm still not getting there. This is the missing link between merit and success. This is exactly the missing link. So I will tell you that, you know, you see people that exude leadership. I mean, you can tell, I mean, they exude it. They don't have to say it, right? You know they're in charge. And as Sherry, thank you for joining me, Sherry, so aptly put in the content and the comments here, people follow someone with the leadership qualities, executive presence. She's absolutely right. Absolutely right. People do follow. That's that it thing that you see in those individuals that exude it. And so they're able to inspire, they're able to motivate, they're able to bring people on board and get initiatives supported and get resources for initiatives and move things forward because they exhibit that it factor. That's why it's called the missing link between merit and success. So now you understand what it is. You understand why it's important. Okay, let's get to the nuts and bolts. How do you get it? Well, you gotta bridge those gaps that I just shared with you. You gotta strengthen emotional intelligence in every category that exists. You've got to figure out, look, am I not strong in my communication? Fix that. Am I not strong in my appearance? Is my body language sending the wrong messages? And then next Tuesday, I'm going to share with you gravitas. Is my charisma not there? Do I not handle conflicts with poise? Am I not strong yet assertive and can still inspire and motivate? How do I get those things? That's the part that gets you executive presence. One of the first things you need to do, I highly recommend this, and I know some people are going to push back a little bit, but you know, I love this word and I love this action. Get some feedback. Find out where you are today. The best way to do that, I love these 360s. Get a 360. That way you can get your team's voice, your leadership's voice, your coworkers' voice, and know where you are today. Remember, I said, how are you perceived? You may believe you are all that and don't understand why everybody else doesn't know and you're not in the seat. Get the feedback so you are dialed in and raise your self awareness and then start working on those gaps. And when you get that feedback in a 360, find yourself an accountability partner that you can trust, somebody that you know has your best interests at heart. Hopefully, that's a mentor that you have. And as you're starting to work on bridging the gaps in that 360 around your executive presence, that mentor, that accountability partner can give you some additional what? Feedback along with the journey of when you're building your executive presence. Hey, yes, Sherry, that's working or it's not. Or yes, Madhu, that's working or it's not. You know what? You showed up strongly, and these are the three things I saw you do. Keep doing those. Highly, highly, highly recommend an accountability partner. So we've talked about what executive presence is. I flipped it on you. I told you what it wasn't. So you know how you don't want to show up. Shared with you why it matters, because it's the missing link between merit and success. And then I gave you a critical step on how you can fix your broken link if it exists for you. And it starts with 360 feedback. I put a link in the comments for my private Facebook group. Join me. It's called Transform Your Career. I share more information there. There's even a special link only for those group members where they can click it, schedule some one-on-one time with me, only if you're a member of that group. So I'd love to have you there. Again, remember, you don't have to continue on this career journey not understanding why you can't get your seat when you've done all the other work. Now you know what that it factor is. Now you understand what the missing link is. And you also know that it's a link that does not need to remain missing along your journey. Glad you joined. You could tell I'm excited about I'm excited about everything I talk about, but I'm super excited about this because I will tell you, I didn't know this stuff early on. Had I known it, somebody was sharing it with me, I wouldn't have taken so long to get my seat at the table. But here's the value. I got the seat. Now, to whom much is given, much is required. And that's why I'm sharing it with you. So you don't have to wonder, be frustrated, and stay in that rut. So let's get about building executive presence. Join me next Tuesday as I tell you about the third and final component, which is gravitas. We're going to deep dive into that next week. Take care.